No, the roller coasters are not an experiential learning, but we thought about doing this presentation on the roller coaster.
But I will say that the roller coasters are a metaphor.
There are lots of ups and downs.
I got it.
Okay, I think we're all set, which is great. Thank you all for being here after the wonderful lunch we had. We are going to be presenting on integrating experiential learning communities for active learning into our online courses. We have designed this as a conversations that matter session. So what does that actually mean? Well, the three of us are only going to present for like 10, 15 minutes. And then we want to open it up to a huge discussion with all of you, because we want this to be very active and we don't want you just there listening to us for the next 50 minutes. Next slide. So who are we? I am Dr. Amy Grincewicz. I am the Director of Instructional Design at Ambassador Crawford College of Business and Entrepreneurship. It is a mouthful. At Kent State. I am a research colleague with QM. I am a facilitator. I am a master peer program reviewer, blah, blah, blah. I also serve on the Ohio Consortium board as a course review manager for our consortium. So all reviews kind of come through me. So that's who I am. And Christine is next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Cranford. I am an instructional designer at NC State. I work at Delta. I also teach in the English department. I'm involved in QM. I'm a facilitator on our campus and for the UNC system. And I'm a peer reviewer. And I have a QM certified course.
And I'm Bob Ertischek. I'm here from Yellow Dig, which is one of the tools that they'll be talking about. And just to inform you, before coming to Yellow Dig, for the turn century, I transitioned from a career as a lawyer into teaching in higher education. I really enjoyed teaching in higher education. And right around 2001, I spent some time as an instructional technologist, faculty developer at Rochester Institute of Technology 20 years ago. And while I thought the promise of online learning was amazing, I thought that the tools and the pedagogy did not create the better student or instructor experience. And I think we're still using some of those tools and pedagogy to this day. And so when I found Yellow Dig, it's what I had been looking for all this time. And now I'm happy to support our users, Amy and Christine. And back to Amy.
Thanks, Bob. So we wanted to combine all of our efforts into this. So you can hear, I will be talking kind of about the theory and the foundation for why we want to talk about experiential learning into our courses, just because that's why I sought out Yellow Dig. So we are in the process of integrating it right now into our courses at Kent. Christine has actually applied it to a course that's gotten QM certification. So you're going to hear kind of like the problem, how this could be a potential solution. Christine will present the solution. And then of course we have to have Bob here because, well, he's kind of the tool. Oh, I didn't mean to say that.
Sure you did.
Oops. But he's here because we wanted to showcase how we found a problem and how Yellow Dig has been used to help solve our problem. So we've got lots of learning outcomes about identifying the strategies, talking about experiential learning, active learning, all of that. But it all boils down to we want to share our stories with you and how we're using Yellow Dig to solve our problems. So this is kind of the connection of experiential learning to General Standard 5 in the QM workbook. So this is the higher education rubric. So we know in General Standard 5, we're talking about learner interaction and active learning. So we're going to focus today on just 3 of the specific review standards within General Standard 5. So we're going to talk about how we need to focus on alignment. We're going to focus on active learning as well as interaction. What we're going to do is we are going to merge that process with Kolb's experiential learning cycle. Now, experiential learning is all about lived experiences. How much, when you're teaching your online courses, we all want our students to be really engaged, talk about their experiences, apply what we're doing in the classroom to their real settings. That's what we want. We want that higher order thinking skills. And so this is why we're kind of combining QM with cold. So we're kind of doing that concrete experience. We're looking at observations and reflections. We're using abstract concepts, what the students are kind of talking about, and then we're going to be testing a new situation. So basically what we have done is we are using Yellow Dig's platform to merge Kolb's experiential learning cycle with active learning for General Standard 5. So we've got this great activity for our courses, for our students, that not only are they being active, so we're doing more than just surface learning, we're also having them talk about their experiences and applying what they're learning in the classroom to their discussions, I don't want to say discussions, but to their conversations that they're having in the course. So we all know there are challenges with interactions. While at Kent State in the College of Business, we were looking at finding a solution to help students be more engaged and interactive in their large enrollment online courses. These are courses that have 250 students. We can't do a lot of writing, we can't do a lot of higher order thinking, we can't do group work because there's just so many students, especially in those basic introductory courses. Students kind of view interaction, especially with those traditional discussion boards, as busy work. They don't want to do it. I've had faculty who go, Amy, I know you told me I had to do a discussion board. I don't like this post once, reply twice. Like, students are engaged, I'm not engaged. They're finding it busy work. Why are we doing it? There's also, students don't like that overly structuredness of the traditional discussion board of the post once, reply twice. They're very structured. So we don't have that conversational flow that we have when we're teaching face-to-face with our students. As well as students don't get engaged in those discussions. How many of us have had a discussion where students the response is, I agree with that, or great post. We've all seen that. And we're like, what was great about it? Give me some more. So we kind of know, you can switch to the next one. This is a slide from Yellow Dig, which I love, but this shows how that typical discussion board works, where we've got, in this case, we've got 5 different discussions. The teacher has led, we have our prompt, we've got people that are doing their initial posts, and then people that are responding. And as you see, this is kind of the same thing throughout the entire 5 weeks of this course. There's always one person who starts and a bunch of people who respond, and then there's people who get in late, and there's just not a lot of flow of dialogue in those courses. It's, okay, my initial post is due Thursday, I will do it Thursday at 11 p.m. My responses are due Monday, I will do my responses Monday at 10 p.m. and then I'll go to bed. And so there's a lack of engagement. They're looking at it as busy work. It's just a checkbox for those students to go, yes, I did the assignment. So our possible solutions from transitioning out of that discussion board is looking at really active learning. Students aren't active in those discussion boards. They're bored, they're not applying information, they're not even replying when they do the responses. They're saying, I agree, or great post, or great article find. They're not really engaging. They're doing those surface level approaches to learning. They're not being very active. We also know that in those discussion boards, students aren't developing that community. They're not talking with one another. They're not getting to know each other in those courses. So we've got these problems with our discussion boards. So what I was looking for is knowing I have this introductory course that's 250 students. I have an exciting instructor who wants to be engaged, who wants her students to be active, and wants to get to know her students. I can't put a traditional discussion board in that class. Students are going to be not responding. She's going to be overwhelmed by having to read all those posts and give them grades and feedback, and it's just not good. So Yellow Dig was something that we started looking into to kind of help with active learning and to develop those learning communities. And so now I've presented that solution, and now Christine is going to present her story.
So I teach English 331, which is communication for engineering and technology. It's a CUBE certified course in 2019. Most of the students in that course are juniors and seniors, and they are engineering majors. This particular semester, I had 50 students in that one class. I normally have about 100, and I would use Yellow Dig with 100 students. Before I implemented Yellow Dig, we had traditional discussion boards, and much of what Amy touched on about posting at the last minute, that conversations fell flat. I really struggled to get students to participate and have conversations that mattered. They just didn't. So I looked at Yellow Dig. Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
He was prompted.
Yeah. So this semester I used Yellow Dig. It was the first time I had used it. It is very flexible and easy to use, but this particular Yellow Dig will help you meet 5.1, which is learning activities help learners achieve the stated objective. That was the first thing that was really important to me when looking at the platform. This particular learning objective 4, the course was identify and discuss document design principles. And here on the side, you see a student's posting. They've got tags here in Yellow Dig. You can give tags for students to associate with their postings. It helps organize your discussions. For this one, he used the technical and professional communication and document design. And the student attached his poster for the Arctic monkeys, but within the posting, he talked about alignment, contrast, and symmetry. And those were all things that we have worked on within that unit. So one thing I did love about Yellow Dig is that they do have the ability to attach a PDF file. So they could attach different visuals. They also have the ability to respond in written form, or give an audio response, or give a video response. Go to the next slide. Most of my examples are written form. Here is 5.2. Learning activities provide opportunities for interaction that support active learning. This is a great example of that. The student had used the tags document design and resume. This one popped up during our resume and employment unit. Students, the student here was talking about the importance of using action words to describe their skills, that they have put a lot of emphasis in that in the design of their resume, and they wanted to know, had other students put a lot of emphasis in that? They were able to give a poll, which students replied to. And then as you can see, we got 20 votes cast up out of 50, and then there's 12 comments and conversation. Conversation continues with 12 additional comments.
And look at that comment. It's not, I like your post.
Yeah, it's based in the share my personal experience. I think they really enjoyed, students really enjoyed that, having the ability to talk about their own experience and share it with the class. Okay, so Yellow Dig 5.4, the requirements of the learner and interaction are clearly stated. This was a very important element I considered when I thought about implementing Yellow Dig to my course. There are many ways within Yellow Dig that a student can see what they need to do to achieve the highest ranking points for the week. In Yellow Dig, there's a panel on the right-hand side, which appears here on the very left, which can show you how many points you currently have and what additional points you need to achieve to reach the goal for the week. They also have in detail point totals, participation logs, earning points, their own participation, and in detail the earning periods. And this one here is a example of the participation log. It explains how many weeks, beginning of the semester to the end, how many points they need to be achieving every week. They explain the rules of how you can earn these points. And then when each earning period ends is additional is accolades where students and teachers can put
Just
markings-
teachers.
just teachers,
Mhm.
okay, markings on postings to emphasize them. Students do have the ability to
They
put
can react.
reactions.
Mhm.
That's what I'm confusing that with. To put reactions on postings. And really what I found out over the course of the semester is that students were very engaged and supportive. They didn't wait till the last minute. They were diving in. They diving into the conversations. I also found that these conversations grew organically over the semester, where they may have posted once in a under a tag of resumes. If they saw that someone replied back to them 2 weeks later, they would go back and reply again. So no area of the discussions closed. They continued throughout the semester. And that was very important, very important. So what we have here for an example is resumes and job interviews for tags. This is one of my favorite ones. The student was really focusing here on how to not to be nervous. They were nervous. They were talking about their own experiences. They were nervous in job interviews and how they prepared to not be nervous. But then they asked their fellow students, do you have any tips for being less nervous during interviews? And I had 19 students reply back with advice of what they did and how they improved themselves so they wouldn't be nervous. We also have 2 reactions up there on the left from students. Yeah. So I really found that it was a game changer in my class. Students took to it. They took to it well because it was a social media platform, a platform that they used and liked. And then the openness of it created the ability to be supportive and engaging.
And the nice thing is that the conversations didn't end. So when you get, halfway through a course, students would be able to still make those connections.
Hey.
Oh, sorry. The great thing is that it goes throughout the course, so those conversations don't end. So you can have a conversation halfway through the semester that's still going back to something they learned at the very beginning. And they can do all those tags and make that come to life, because we always know with our students that once they're in week 7, they forget what happened in weeks 1 through 6. But this allows that conversation to keep going.
It was really useful with the continuing conversations because students were able to connect ideas and build on them. It had a huge impact into the level of and depth of the discussions that students were having. So next one.
Do you want to? So we decided to prompt with a couple of questions for all of you.
Which is something we don't do in Yellow Dig.
But we also are open to whatever you want to talk about as well. So in your experience teaching online courses, what have been your challenges with student-to-student interaction?
I feel like I didn't think I was going to have to do this in an online course, so they kind of come in with the expectation just not going to.
Okay.
Will you repeat what they said?
Yes, the comment was about that students come into an online course without thinking they have to interaction with their peers. I think students still are kind of in that, I'm just in here as a high enrollment course and I'm just going to go through the motions and get my grade. And that's not what we want.
Just how it is. The expectation of the discussion. I taught at institutions where they have the essay where you have getting the land, you cite your sources, you list your sources at the end, and that's just the word discussion is a disconnect of what it actually is. And so having expectations around what you're looking for, you have the casual cafes where kids students can interact, and that's fine too, but then you're not getting into the deep of the content as well. So there's two different things that are happening, and it's
Can I add two bits to that? The thing that I really,
You gotta repeat it.
sorry, the two bits I want to add to that is that with Yellow Dig, it is not like a discussion forum. It is like a conversation, and these conversations grow, which is one of the things that I think is the superpower of Yellow Dig. It also looks and feels like social media, which to them, they take to very easily. They can access it through their phone, just not a laptop. So a lot of these things, I think it made it very easy for students to pop in and state their thoughts. I got students replied a lot more often than they would on what I had previously used as a discussion board.
And to your point, I think a lot of times we use discussion boards as mini essay assignments, and that's what the students feel. Even though we're saying it's a discussion, we want that dialogue, it feels like I'm writing a mini essay. And then the students aren't engaged because it's a mini essay. In the back? Yeah.
So, if you were to summarize the features of Yellow, it's not Yellow Dig, but let's talk about the educational points that make it different. So one thing I see is forward. Another thing I see is you can attach media to the post. Are those the only two things that Yellow Dig does? Could you summarize the things that are unique about Yellow Dig?
Sure. This might take a minute or two, and it's going to be, I can't talk and move at the same time, but thank you. But Yellow Dig, as you've seen, resembles social media. So your students, first of all, they understand how to use it. It also has an algorithm that brings the most engaging conversations back to the top. Those topic tags, those little tags that Amy pointed out that she's hovering over right now, they're designed by you, by the designer or instructor, to shape the conversations that you want your students to have, and we track all the data as far as that goes. By the way, your students enter Yellow Dig through your LMS, and that also brings a path for grade passback. So the points in Yellow Dig can be converted into whatever weight of the grade that you want them to be in your grade book. And I suggest that you think of Yellow Dig as a participation grade, a place for formative assessment rather than a summative assessment. And in addition to that, you notice the points, but the points are there not to assess, they're there for motivation. And can you just click on where it says show details?
Mhm.
Yep. The way that works, oops, go back to where it says earning points. This one. And scroll up. I know you saw this on the other slide, just a little more. I know you saw this on the other slide, but I want to tell you that there are really, in Yellow Dig, there are two ways that learners earn these points. And I think it's important for you to understand this because it makes a big difference in the whole paradigm of what we're doing. So there are two ways. The first way is they create content. So if Amy created a post, she'd get some points. If Christine commented on Amy's post, she would get some points. But the deal is that Christine chose to comment on Amy's post rather than my post. So Amy gets additional points. And what Amy learns from this is, you know what? If I create something of value to the community, I'm going to get to my point goal quicker because my peers are going to give me my points. And on the other hand, if I'm just trying to get my thing done, nobody's going to interact with that. And it's going to be harder for me to get what I need to do. So it really works well to motivate learners in the first place. Okay. In addition to that, we encourage you not to use prompts in Yellow Dig. Yellow Dig is an organic conversation that you as an instructor are a member of the community, rather than you're the sage. You're not the sage on the stage here. You are the guide on the side, and your role is to continue conversations or to award those point-bearing accolades to model the behavior that you want to see. Giving an accolade to you because you had a post that I want other students to try to do something similar with is going to give you extra points, and everyone else is going to say, oh, if I want to get those extra points from the instructor, I'm going to have to create something of value to the community as far as that goes. In addition to all of that, and I'm sorry for umming, I don't know why I do that. Those topics that I talked about, they're not weekly, right? So as Amy mentioned, I think it was Amy, no, as Christine had mentioned, that conversations can continue. We're talking about a concept in week 2, and then 7 weeks later, it becomes important again because maybe something in the world is happening, or maybe a student has an experience with something or other. They can easily jump back into that conversation. And they don't have to wait for the instructor to start conversations. In fact, the instructor shouldn't regularly be starting conversations, except to start by setting expectations that this is not a discussion board, it's something a little bit different. Why are we doing it? What am I expecting from you, and what should you expect from me? And if you can do that in Yellow Dig, you can really do that. So I know that was a broad answer, and I could go on literally for hours, but I'm going to stop now. Whoever wants to, you have a follow-up? I was going to guess.
I want to talk about gamification. Obviously, trying to are you the developer?
I am not.
So obviously, you're assigning point values to certain things. I see there are 240 points for post-mortem point.
Yeah.
So obviously, you just write 40 Latin words to get 240 points. So how do you, can Yellow Dig actually do some semantic analysis?
No, but like I mentioned before, the key here is that those students are going to be incentivized by their peers for the content that they create. And by the way, if they're creating bad content, the other students are going to call them out on that. We've seen this. They can flag the post and have it removed from the feed and things like that. But we don't encourage a police state, to be honest. But the bottom line is that it works really well to encourage better conversations because of the way that learners earn points. And by the way, those point numbers that you see there, those are based on analysis we've done of our whole platform and all the posting, and those are the sweet spots for creating that kind of engagement. And you know, basically, one other thing real quick, we want students to read. We don't want to give them an opportunity to write. They can write as long as they want, right? But if a student writes 200 words, or if you tell them they have to write 200 words, they're going to be filling that space to get to the 200 words. Our numbers, which you can change, are primed for engagement. And what we see is that students are writing more than that when they feel like it and meeting those numbers, but they're also staying in the community and they're going further and deeper and viewing those comments, even if they don't comment on it. Tell me a student who reads other posts in the discussion board that they don't have to. I don't know of those students. But in Yellow Dig, they go deeper. And remember, there is learning in lurking. So this is another piece of that.
Well, to go with that, the instructor that my team is working with to include this, she loves teaching face-to-face. And the reason she loves teaching face-to-face is that when she's presenting her material as a lecture, the students are actively engaged with her and they're asking questions and bringing in their ideas. And so there's an open dialogue during the class. We have not been able to replicate that open dialogue that happens when you're doing something face-to-face in the online environment. We did try to do discussion boards in her class and she's like, this was a total failure. It just didn't work with the amount of students and students feeling that they were having to be forced and structured and all of that. And so it just didn't work out. And so we're using Yellow Dig in her course and she's super excited about it just because her role changes in this dialogue where she's not there telling the students what they have to do. And I know for me in the discussion board, I'm always prompting my students with open-ended questions to get them to go deeper. We're hoping the students will do that and have those conversations that happen before, after, and during class that we miss out on in those online environments.
I think one of the hardest things for me when I first used it was to let go of the control. And what I really found was by creating those tags, which were broad topics that we were covering throughout the semester, and they were tags, I created tags also related to their projects that they were working on. What I really found was it gave them, by giving them control, they took ownership of it and they ran with it. I didn't have anybody try to work the system. And I was really surprised by that. And I was really proud of the work that they did. It very much felt like how conversations grow organically in a classroom, it felt like that happened on this online platform. And that was what I was hoping and wanting to achieve.
You had a question up front. Okay. South of Florida or Gulf of Florida? Okay.
Is that something that you guys have built into this tool?
So that, I'm going to answer two different pieces of that question. Yellow Dig is designed to reduce that procrastination because while there are what we call weekly earning periods, Yellow Dig is one assignment over the course of the entire semester. It is not a series of weekly assignments. So there aren't really deadlines per se. However, there is a point limiter if you're using our standard point setup, which means that students can't earn more than a certain number of points each week, which means they can't wait until the last week and put up 90 posts to get all their points and something like that. But, and there's some flexibility in the points too. We have a point buffer so that maybe one week I'm super busy studying for a test. Maybe I only do 3/4 of what I'm supposed to do. The next week, I have the opportunity to go a little bit further and make it up and things like that. But there are no deadlines in Yellow Dig per se. So the point system, and I'm getting back to the other part about procrastination, because of these weekly earning periods though, if a student comes in earlier in the week and posts, they're more likely to get those interaction points from their peers rather than waiting. And because the instructor, we're not starting every week with, here's the thing, it's due on Sunday, they don't wait until that deadline to participate. In fact, we find that they come several times a week. Once they're finding value in the community, they consume it like they consume LinkedIn or something like that, and sit on their phone and scroll through it and while they're on the bus or whatever it is. So I hope that helps. Yep. So I think the answer to that is it's not so much a learning curve as a change in paradigm. And I think that change in paradigm is harder for the instructor, to be honest. We do have documents that we suggest that you put in your LMS that describes the nature of the assignment. And also we suggest that the instructor, when starting, puts a video in the front in the top of the community saying, hey, welcome to our community. This is going to be a little bit different. This is what we're doing and why, and what you should expect from me and what you should expect from you, what I'm expecting from you. Yeah.
That's where I'm looking at using it in the undergrad courses.
So, oh my gosh, yeah. So I work with, I'm just going to name drop a few of the clients that I work with. I work with the Boston University online MBA program. Their entire program is in Yellow Dig, thousands of students. We have communities with hundreds and hundreds of students. University of Illinois Geese, same deal. I could go on and on. Yeah, we're in a lot of grad programs and it works really well because I will say, one of the things that's great about grad programs in Yellow Dig is because it's a learning community and your students in a grad course generally have a lot to bring to the table. They're not, no disrespect to undergrads, I was one once, but we know more when we have more experiences to share when we're in grad school. So this becomes a place for them to teach their peers, to say, I had this experience related to what you just asked about, or vice versa, something like that.
I teach graduate instructional design students, and I don't have anything like this. I'm in the traditional discussion board, and I've tried to get my students to participate more on what they're doing in the workforce, how they're doing. I teach a course on project management. Okay, you're out in the field doing instructional design as project manager. How does this relate? And I keep wanting them to bring in their experiences. I bring in mine. I bring in research articles, and there is no participation. There is no dialogue that happens. And I feel like if I had a platform like this, where it took away that structuredness of the discussion board type, that my students would be more apt to just pull up their phone and be like, oh, I use this principle that I just learned in my job yesterday, and really talk about that and really bring in that experiential learning and bringing in their lived experiences into the course. Yep.
Way in the back, the guy whose head looks like mine a little bit.
Christine, do you wanna? We love having Christine here because she's the faculty voice of this.
I did not share a rubric with my students other than because I did consider it participation. It was a grade that was a low stake activity in my course, and it was considered participation. So I did not have a direct rubric to use. However, I did follow guidelines from Yellow Dig and provided information about how they could earn points within the class and how this platform was different than what was a traditional discussion board. I did find that the first week of class, I participated. I told my students I was going to hop on and participate just like they were, and to kind of get a feel of how hard it was to rack up those points. And it's not that hard. I did not have students struggle to reach the point threshold. And a lot of times they went over that effortlessly and willingly. I had one student in the out of 50 that completely dropped off of Yellow Dig, but he also dropped off of everything in the course. He was somebody that disappeared. And to have 49 students continually participate in this platform over 16 weeks of a semester was amazing to me. I had students at the end of the semester that emailed me and to let them know how much they enjoyed this. And they wanted to know if they could continue to access it. They wanted to be able to stay in touch with some of their classmates. So it was a game changer for my course.
So Christine's got this great course. It's QM certified. She's got active learning, all that going on in her course. Me, I'm stuck with principles management, operations management, which have 200 plus online students. Faculty has designed the course where it pretty much surrounds the publisher platforms. That's what students feel. They're just in there, they're reading the textbook, they're taking this quiz, they're doing these smart book activities, they're doing all that in the publisher platform. That's not active, that's not engaging, there's no interaction. So it is hard for us in the college, for those large enrollment online courses, to meet the standards in General Standard 5 because of the sheer number of our courses. And when we go up, all the reviews are like, oh, there's no interaction. You should have discussion boards and you should have this. I'm going, I can't have a traditional discussion board with 200 students because that would be a nightmare. I mean, I have 20 students in a course and it's hard for me to manage the discussion board. I can't imagine doing it with 250 students. And so this is why we are looking at implementing this tool so that we can help have more active learning, have those students bringing that application, those lived experiences, and having some engagement and interaction in the course. Because I struggle to meet standard 5, at least in my undergraduate courses that are large enrollment. Purple shirt.
So my question is, I teach cybersecurity, and with that, I've ripped out all discussion boards in my course, and they are required to do it from the go. There's no typing whatsoever that I do what they want. But with that, there's not really a flow on the way to get a response because we're trying to eliminate ChatGPT and advances with AI. So what does Yellow Dig do from that?
Yes.
So, yeah, so basically the question is, well, I'm definitely narrowing your question here a little bit, so please fill me in if I forget, is, you know, how do we avoid the problems that people perceive from using a generative AI tool like ChatGPT, so to speak? And because we're encouraging you not to have prompts in the other day, because these are organic conversations related to the course concepts that students are sharing their own personal experiences or what they see happening in the world, you can't use AI. You could, but it would be more cumbersome and more difficult than just having a conversation. And another thing I wanted to share about Yellow Dig related to all that is that in our, I didn't really get the chance to show you in our in that points report that I was showing you there, but we value comments higher than posts. So Yellow Dig isn't about starting the conversation. It's about creating deeper conversations. So we measure something that we call the conversation ratio, which is the number of comments to the number of posts. And you'll be able to see this in each and every one of your Yellow Dig communities if you were to use Yellow Dig. And in a standard discussion board, that conversation ratio is 2, 1 post, 2 comments. In Yellow Dig, we like to see 8 as the sort of average that of that conversation ratio, meaning that some conversations may get no responses, but some might get 30 or 100 or something like that. And in that kind of environment, it doesn't make sense to use, as a learner, it's not making your life easier to use AI to share a personal experience or to comment, to reply to what your peer said about their personal experience, and it's not just personal experience, it could be any kind of thing that's going on in the world related to the course concept. And it really does, especially when you have experts in cybersecurity or what have you, sharing those real world experiences. It takes those abstract concepts that you're talking about and makes them real to your learners. So just to go back, it really doesn't matter what course you are. I mean, we do really well in STEM courses, we do well in language courses, business course, whatever you want. Did that help? Did that get you what you needed?
We have several cybersecurity, and with the video option, I love that, where I'm looking at it that they have their phone and they can just hit record and just talk and upload it right to Yellow Dig and have that in there, and somebody can hit record and do their reply. So, and I think that helps because that's doing oral communication, which we all need to improve. I know in the college that is something we're working on, but it's also kind of, you don't have to sit down at a computer and type it out. They can just talk whenever they have time. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be more manageable for teachers, but I'm wondering if there are certain phrases that are flagged within the system if they're mentioned, since the teacher probably would be able to cover all of them.
So first of all, you can easily create a list of objectionable words that will not be allowed to be posted. That's number 1. Number 2, basically, your learners have the ability, as along with you do, to flag objectionable posts. If there was a reason that you thought that a post should not be in the community, I'm going to just show you real quick. My mouse here. You'll see this little guy right here. I can flag the post, or a learner can flag the post. Rather than deleting it, it'll be removed from the feed. A message will go out to the learner. They won't know who flagged it. You'll know who flagged it, but they won't know who flagged it. And then you have an area where you can review that post to decide, or comment, was that really something that should have been flagged, or do I want to put it back? So you have that total ability. Also coming soon, we are working on a feature that will do some of that type of moderation. But frankly, it's really hasn't been all that necessary when people are following our best practices.
You had another one.
I
I see the hands.
Bob, you just put up that network graph.
Yeah.
I noticed on there were a few kind of solo flyers, people were posting but not responses. Christine, I'm wondering if you experienced that, anybody who was sort of left out of the discussion or did get a lot of interaction, what their experience was, how you handled those kind of folks. Checked out at all?
No, they were all very connected. However, like I said in the beginning of the semester, that first week or two, I participated as a student. That also helped model to them what they should be doing. Well, I did have that one student, but he dropped off the, he's the missing, the AWOL student.
Well, and I think, when we're teaching, we're not going to reach all of our students, especially if there's 200 some in a course. And so those outliers, they just might be outliers. And that's up to them, and they might be okay with doing the bare minimum.
It also gives you an opportunity to find out and easily see that there's something wrong with a particular student. Reach out to them. In fact, we have a partner who, during the pandemic, found a student who was on their own, hadn't interacted with anyone. And they had not only not interacted with anyone in Yellow Dig, they just hadn't interacted with anybody in months. And the instructor reached out because of this, and the student had a successful outcome.
Yes.
What accessibility have?
Yep. So Yellow Dig works with a screen reader. We also recently added automatic captioning and the ability to edit those, to have a human edit those captions as well. The color palette in Yellow Dig is designed also to be accessible. There's probably a lot more I could talk about, but I think those are the basics: the audio and video tools and the screen reader capability.
So I know I've heard permanent users for undergrad, graduate, and I heard you say it really wasn't much of a learning curve for the students to learn. Take that and move it to now 6 through 8 middle school. Like, how would you adapt this to a middle school environment where, the kids are middle school?
It's a whole different beast in middle school.
So we have had Yellow Dig used in K through 12. Obviously, in any Yellow Dig community, it's really important to have an instructor presence, right? That presence looks different than a discussion board or even a classroom to some degree, but the instructor should be there and setting expectations, pointing out those good behaviors, removing those things that happen using that flag feature to get rid of the things that aren't as great.
We have just a few minutes left. I will put on my, Jim, do we have anything from the online group?
One question that was the percentage of grade.
Oh, yeah.
Christine? We're looking at what the percentage was for their final grade in the course with Yellow Dig.
5%. Yeah, and I mean, other than the one student that went AWOL, they all earned their points and put a lot of effort into it. It really was remarkable.
I'm gonna put on my QM research colleague hat because, as Bob knows, I met Bob last year at QM.
In Tucson.
Yes, in Tucson last year at QM Connect. And he kind of sold me, but I was a little skeptical, and I know the dean was going to be skeptical. So at Kent, we are designing a before and after study because we know we need that true data that we know this is a problem in the course, but we need to show the data that this actually is going to fix the problem. And so I know from my conversations with Bob and Jamie and Todd and everyone at Yellow Dig, they are 100% behind supporting doing research on the product. And so that's my little plug, just because I like research. And for me, I really think this is a viable solution to at least what we struggle with at Kent in our large online enrollment, which I know many of you struggle with the same thing. So we are doing experimental design study to actually kind of look into that.
I just want to mention also that we are not a set it and forget it vendor. We work with you to get you onboarded, to have you fully understand the instructor and designer roles in Yellow Dig, the pedagogy behind Yellow Dig, the underpinnings and all that kind of thing, and also how to maximize your role as a designer and instructor. Yes. I do. I'm the head of client success. Oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah, I do for almost 4 years. Loving every minute of it. Thank you.
I can attest to that I was very well supported when I had questions. I did not have any type of issues with the platform. We're a middle-based campus. With the platform, talking to my grade book and transferring grades back, it was seamless and did not present any issues that I needed to solve, which was really nice.
I want it in my courses. And I think we're almost at time.
One last question for fun. Any last things?
Anything online, Jim?
And we didn't sing, so that's awesome.
I said just push play.
Thank you so much, everybody. Good job. Thank you. And that was